Yan. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ira. I am Nezer Soriano. I am an ordained clergy in the United Methodist Church. So, pastor po ako. I am also a practicing family physician. So, I am a doctor. Kaya nga tawag nila sa akin, Pasdoc. So, I am happy to see both males and females attend this technical briefing. I was anxious a little bit that this technical briefing will be attended only by ladies, no? And I will be the only male in the room. Now I'm happy that I have other male breast friends. Yeah. So are you not happy na meron kayong mga new breast friends? Sige nga, tapikin nyo kayong nasa kaliwa ninyo. Sabi nyo, I'm happy na may bago akong new breast friend. Tapos tapikin nyo naman yung sa kanan nyo, sabi nyo, sana maging breast friends for life tayo. So you have heard about the current programs of the government about infant and young child feeding. So now let me share with you the response of the civil society organizations and the NGOs on protecting and promoting breastfeeding. I will highlight the strength of the existing policies that was mentioned a while ago and how we need to implement them to strengthen the implementation of these policies and the laws to promote and protect breastfeeding. So, what do we do? So, to defend breastfeeding, there are at least two things that I will discuss with you. First, we support the current government position in the promotion and implementation of existing laws that we believe adequately promote and protect breastfeeding. And second, we complement the current programs of the government on infant and young child nutrition with our work and research. So una, sabi natin, we promote and we support the government stand on existing laws that promote and implement breastfeeding. So what we do is we also promote and implement these existing laws within our organization. So internal implementation, intentional internal implementation of the law. So we set up lactation stations in our offices. This is the product, as you all know now, of Republic Act 128. Nasabi niya, dapat merong lactation stations within your workplace. Before, we had 3 staff. Let me share with you this story. No? We have 3 staff na breastfeeding at the same time, but we don't have lactation stations in our workplace. So, doon sila sa CR nag-express ng milk. No? Pero ngayon, because of RA 128, we already have lactation stations na kahit na isa lang yung staff namin currently na breastfeeding, hindi magdadalawang isip yung leadership team, yung management na gamitin yung gumawa at maglagay ng lactation stations for these breastfeeding mothers. Tinanong na kanina, pero I want a show of hands. Meron ba ditong lactation station sa Congress? Malayo. Oh. Meron isa. So kung dito ka nagwo-work knowing na to, tatawid ka pa para lang mag-express. Okay. Tatawid pa, maglalakad pa. So, although RA 128 is a good law and a strong law that promotes breastfeeding, we need to implement that. Diba? And you are the living example na kailangan magkaroon tayo ng lactation stations within the workplace. Para kung yung mga staff ninyo na breastfeeding, hindi na sila maglalakad para pumunta kung saan po yung malayong lactation stations. Diba? Another product of RA 128 that we strictly observe is the paid maternity leaves. Diba? And extended breaks. The mothers are encouraged to breastfeed or express their milk because she knows that she will still be paid even if she takes that extra 40 minutes break, no, to express her milk. In fact, some of us extend this benefit to 6 months. Yung benefit natin, sabi sa R108, is only good for 2 months. Pero within our organizations, in some of our organizations, we allow our breastfeeding mothers to extend their maternity leaves up to 6 months. O, sinong gusto magkaroon ng 6 months maternity leave? Ha? Yun. Sige, kayo lang pong bibigyan kasi yung iba ayaw ata eh. Pero maganda yun, di ba? So we also vigilantly monitor milk code violations. The beauty of the milk code is that anybody can now report any violations. No? So to date, for this year, I think we already reported at least 10 violations. No? Pero again, the sad part, I think there are only 2 who na-file at nakasuhan ng milk code violations. No? So we need to strengthen the monitoring of the milk code violations. We also teach our staff on the benefits of early initiation of breastfeeding so they can advocate it to their families and friends. So we need to be vigilant on this because not all health practitioners, and this is speaking as a doctor, no? Not all health practitioners observe exclusive breastfeeding. One of our colleagues used to tell us na nung binisita na yung kanyang apo, no, nung anak yung kanyang anak, binisita yung kanyang apo, nagulat siya na hiniwala yung kanyang apo doon sa nanay at nilagay sa nursery. No? Pero sabi ng ating policy sa Essential Newborn Care, dapat early breastfeeding. Sabi ng RA 7600 na dapat early rooming in. Diba? So that's already a violation. Kung hindi naturuan yung mga staff or yung mga family members ninyo na meron palang ganung batas, walang magiging vigilant para i-remind yung mga doctors natin sa mga nurses na dapat i-implement nila yung early rooming in sa mga hospitals and healthcare facilities. And the second thing that we do is, of course, we also have external promotion of the laws, and most of them happen in the national and community level. So, we promote existing laws. Our external promotion of existing laws is closely related to the second work that we do, and that is to develop complementary, and I would like to emphasize the complementary programs that we do, complementary to the government's initiative on infant and young child feeding. Example of this program is IEC, or the Information and Education Communication. So what we do is we educate the community, especially mothers, so they will be empowered to take actions in addressing health problems. One of the prevailing myths among mothers that attacks breastfeeding practice is that formula milk is equal or superior to breast milk. Yun isang problema sa community. No? Mothers believe or mothers think that mas superior yung infant formula. And we would like to defend breastfeeding by debunking that myth. And so we educate mothers. This myth was carried out because nung mga 1970s or 1980s, so buhay na po kayo nun, nandun na po kayo nun, kung maalala nyo, siguro mga baby pa tayo nun, no? Very rampant yung pag-promote ng infant formula. So yung idea na yun na infant formula is very effective, exists even up to this day. No? And that's where the myth come from, na mas superior daw yung infant formula. Hindi ba kayo nagtataka pag nanood kayo ng TV sa mga teleserye? Diba? Pag umiyak yung baby, anong ginagawa ng nanay o ng tatay? Diba? Timplagan ng gatas. Diba? Nakita nyo ba na pag umiyak yung baby, papalidayan agad? Wala namang ganon. Diba? So, this myth is debunked by Executive Order number 51. So, it is good that we have Executive Order 51 to help us defend breastfeeding. EO 51 regulates the promotion of infant formula for this age group, 0 to 6 months na dapat exclusive breastfeeding, and continued breastfeeding from 6 months up to 2 years. But we still need to defend and promote exclusive breastfeeding because studies have shown, sabi nga ni Ma'am, na 45% na yung increase natin since 2011 sa exclusive breastfeeding. But our target is more than that, no? So dapat ma-reach yung target na more than 50% exclusive breastfeeding among 0 to 6 months infants. So it is good that we also have RA 128 that mandates us that we should educate the public. Nandun po yung nakasulat sa RA 128. That dapat we should educate the public about the benefits and the superiority of breastfeeding. It's written there in Republic Act 128 that the actual words say that breast milk is superior. So we really need to intensify the implementation of this law to debunk the myth that infant formula is better than breast milk. Second, behavioral change communication. So we engage communities to have supportive environments to address these issues. In this activity, we have to talk to people and know what they believe in. One of the prevailing myths in the community that attacks breastfeeding is that mothers think they do not have enough milk. Konti lang po ang gatas na lumalabas sa dede ko. Yan ang lagi sinasabi ng mga pasyente ko. The fact is, there is always enough milk. The simple logic is supply and demand. It is just a matter of proper latching and positioning of the baby to create the demand for milk. And early breastfeeding is key on stimulating milk production para ma-create yung demand for milk production ng mother. And again, it is good that we have existing laws like RA 128 to defend against this myth. This law is good because it promotes early latching on, katulad ng RA 7600. It adequately helps us defend against the myth that discourages breastfeeding. This law helps us change the behaviors of mother na hindi na lang sila magpapadede because wala daw silang gatas. Because this law promotes early latching on, then mothers will change their behaviors to practice breastfeeding early. Dapat within 1 hour, pagpanganak ng baby, dapat nakadede na yun sa kanya. Next, we also advocate the continued breastfeeding during emergencies. One of the myths that attack breastfeeding is that people think it is difficult to breastfeed during emergencies because of the stress that the mothers encounter in times of crisis. So dahil na-stress na siya, pagod na siya, hindi na siya makapag-produce ng milk. And that is a myth. It is good again that we have Executive Order number 51 to defend breastfeeding against this myth. This law helps us regulate the promotion of infant formula during emergencies. We recognize that breastfeeding is the best solution during emergencies. Because of the limited resources that happens during emergencies. And the very best example that we will see that is yung nangyayari ngayon sa Bohol. Diba? Kung nanonood kayo ng TV, if you have been there, if you have responded there, anong hinihingi ng mga tao? Tubig at pagkain. Remember, kung gagamit ka ng infant formula, hindi mo naman binibigay yung powder sa baby. You need water. Okay? Kaya, sabi natin, breastfeeding is still best during emergencies because you don't need water. Ito pa, another trivia. Pag sinabi natin exclusive breastfeeding, you don't need water for the baby. No? Breastfeeding is enough. Exclusive. Talagang dede at gatas lang mula sa dede ng ina ang kailangan niya. Hindi na kailangan ng tubig. So that is enough for the baby. Especially, this is helpful during emergencies. Research have shown that breast milk is best for babies during emergencies. And the production of milk is not affected by stress. Mothers can still produce enough milk for the baby. So what you need to do is feed the mother, not the baby with infant formula. Okay? So what regulates production of milk is the demand of the baby for milk. So if the baby continues to breastfeed even during disasters, the mother will produce the milk that is needed by the baby. So dapat ituloy lang niya yung pagpapadede. Okay? So what else do we do? Nutrition research. We also do research on nutrition to have an updated knowledge on infant and young child feeding. We also document what are the recent and updated best practices, and we share these best practices among our colleagues and other non-government organizations. We also prepare education materials filled with updated scientific evidence. It is important for us to back up our claims with current evidence from scientific research, because many of the health beliefs that attack breastfeeding are not scientifically proven and sound. One of these myth ay yung sa colostrum. Diba? Malala ko, yung isang pasyente ko, sabi nung nanay niya, i-express mo na yung milk mo at itapon mo na yung panis na gatas bago mo padidihin yung nanay mo. Because they believe that the colostrum, kasi yung colostrum, it's very yellowish yung kulay niya kumpara dun sa breast milk. So, kala nila panis na gatas yun. Kaya, discard. When in fact, that colostrum is very rich in antibodies that will help protect babies from diseases. Okay? And so, we prepare materials, pamphlets, booklets filled with updated facts on breastfeeding to debunk myths that attack breastfeeding. So, it is good that we have laws that defend breastfeeding by mandating creation of education materials and methods that will update mothers and health workers also on breastfeeding. We have RA 128 again to defend breastfeeding by telling us to train mothers and health workers on teaching mothers on proper lactation, katulad yan. This is a picture of a lactation counselor teaching a mother how to properly breastfeed a baby. So we need to strengthen our implementation of these existing laws to produce more updated materials that will help educate our mothers and our health workers. And lastly, we also engage the government in policy making and program development, especially the local government. We help them develop programs and policies that will support breastfeeding mothers, because one of the attacks on breastfeeding is the prevailing idea and myth that breastfeeding mothers will have difficulty breastfeeding when they return to work. Mahirap daw bumalik sa trabaho na nagpapadede, kaya wag na lang magpadede pag bumalik na sa trabaho. That is no longer true, because we already have RA 128 that tell us that you have to have lactation stations in the workplace to support breastfeeding mothers. They also have extended breaks, 40 minutes, so they will have ample time to express their milk if necessary. So breastfeeding mothers can now return to work and at the same time practice breastfeeding. But there is more. It is not only the employees who will benefit. No? It is good that RA 128 also provides tax incentives for the employers that supports these breastfeeding mothers. Yung mga gastos nila sa pag-put up ng lactation stations, they can have that as tax deduction. And recently, research have shown, research have shown that breastfeeding mothers, those who are supported by their employers to breastfeed in their workplace, are more loyal to their employers and becomes more productive in the long run. So that is a great benefit for employers. So it is good if we can implement this law so that employers will know that if they have programs and policies on breastfeeding, they will also benefit greatly from it. And in implementation of programs and policies on breastfeeding, we partner with the MNOW and the Barangay Nutrition Scholars, no? Yung MNOW, yung mga Municipal Nutrition Action Officers natin. Now, to sustain these programs and policies in the local government and in the community, we need to have continued partnership with the MNOW. Now, the problem is, yung MNOW natin is coterminous with the mayor, no, sa term nila. So pag napalitan yung mayor, malamang sa malamang, mapapalitan yung MNOW. But if we create plantilla positions for this MNOW, it will be able to sustain the programs and policies that defend breastfeeding. And if we increase the incentive for our BNS, then they will be able to widen their scope of coverage in the implementation of breastfeeding programs and practices. And so, in closing, let me reiterate to you two things again. We in the CSO, we believe that we have good existing laws and we support the government's position in promoting and implementing these existing laws. And second, the CSOs and the NGOs do complementary programs that will support the government efforts on infant and young child nutrition, especially in defending breastfeeding. So thank you for your time and God bless.
Thank you, Doc Neki. Okay, so many trivia learned